Hi, my name's Rob Wilson. Thank you for joining me on the second instructional video that I've made. This one is on creating photography projects. I'd like to show you four different projects that I've created, and I've created them in different ways. And I'm hoping that I'm going to give you some inspiration, some ideas about how you can make your own projects. So the first project I'd like to talk about with you, um, I took a number of years ago when I was living in Abu Dhabi. And when I first arrived in the city, I was somewhat shocked and angry about the conditions that many of the manual labourers lived in. They were very poorly treated, they were paid appallingly low salaries, and they had very, very tough lives. So it made me angry, and I wanted to respond to this by making photographs. So I had a period of time when I went out and I took photographs of these men and I collected the images into this project. When I took the pictures of these men, not a single one said no to me taking photographs of them. They were all very, very happy to engage with me, and they actually turned out to be great subjects. And I'm really happy with the quality of work I produced here. I think there's some meaning to it. I think it shows these men as individuals, as people of value, rather than how they were treated. After I'd taken these pictures, I did try and distribute them to these guys, but they were on a huge construction site and were very, very quickly moved on to other sites and shifted around as the construction progressed. So unfortunately, I was not able to give the pictures to as many of them as I wanted. One thing I did find with the project was a great camaraderie between the individuals. You can see in this image here friendship, that these guys are great friends. They lined up like this without any prompting to me, and I love the expressions on their faces and how they related to each other. And yeah, that was just a joy. It's this last image though, um, exhausted worker, that I think hits hardest with me. This man was just so tired at the end of his day's work. He almost couldn't move, couldn't speak. He was just exhausted. And this to me tells the story of what these men are put through. I'm very happy with the project. I think I should have done more with it. I should have tried to get it published, but I didn't, for my safety in that country, and also for the safety of those workers, because the government don't like anything that is viewed as criticism. So I've still got the project. I'm happy with it. I think it's some of the best work I've ever done, and it was created in response to an emotion. So that's the first approach to a project. So the second approach I want to talk about is just immersing yourself in something and seeing what comes out of it. So some years ago, I had the opportunity to visit Jodhpur in India. I was alone, and I thought I would go there and throw myself into photographing the city. I had no particular purpose in mind. I just wanted to take photographs. So I went to Jodhpur and I spent a whole week, morning, noon, and night, photographing the city. I didn't stop the whole time. And I enjoyed it immensely. I got lots of great images. I wouldn't say there's a particular purpose to this project other than it was just great fun. So this particular lady, an almost holy figure, I was walking around the streets of Jodhpur, looking for images, and her grandson started talking to me. And sometime after talking, he said, "Wait there," ran off and dragged his poor grandmother back to the window and made her pose in the window for me. And I got this image, which I love this photograph very much. I mean, she does look almost, as the title suggests, almost like a saintly figure. And yeah, she was very happy to pose. She enjoyed it herself, and I love the image. Jodhpur has to be the single most photogenic place that I've ever visited. The people themselves are very colourful in how they dress. The city itself is painted in blue, so it is a very, very colourful city, and it provides a fantastic backdrop to the pictures. You know, you walk around and you find pictures everywhere. You know, I could spend a month in Jodhpur, and I would never be bored of photographing it. And from this project, I got some of my favourite images. This is one of them, Jodhpur Road. It reminds me a little bit of the Beatles' Abbey Road cover. Um, what the picture doesn't show you is that I'm pinned up against a wall with traffic roaring past me. It was an extremely dangerous photograph to take, but I'm really, really happy with this one, and it is one of my favourites. One of my favourite photographers is Raghuveer Singh, the Indian photographer, and I kind of think this picture was a little bit like how he would take a picture. You know, there's a bit of movement in there, there's life in the picture. And again, it's one of my favorites. I didn't discover this picture till long after I'd finished processing what I thought were all the interesting pictures from the trip. And I just discovered this in the archive, and it's probably the picture I like most of all from the whole project. But just immersing myself in Jodhpur, it was a wonderful experience, and it allowed me to create a really nice gallery of images that I revisit often. So I think that immersing yourself in a place and just taking images, just getting pictures and seeing what you find is a lovely way to do a project. I mean, it's maybe it doesn't create a great narrative like the previous project did, but it gives you a nice collection of images, and it is great fun. So the third way I'd like to examine today is the most formal inquiry. Here you start with a question, a hypothesis, a theory, an idea about something that you want to explore in photographs. For me, it is this district where I live, Scarborough, and I wanted to find out what's the story of Scarborough, what defines it, what makes it interesting, how does the climate affect it. So I set a whole load of research questions about Scarborough, and then I went out to take photographs that answered those questions. I'm currently only about a third of the way through the project, but already I've got lots of images that I'm really, really very pleased with. The interesting thing is it's constantly changing here. This picture of the abandoned cafe, I couldn't take it now. Within a few days after me taking this picture, the cafe was gone. It was knocked down, and it's now a construction site. This image may be a bit of a cliche, I mean, a path through the forest, but it does show that Scarborough is perhaps a bit more than the stereotypes suggest about it being ugly. There is a lot of beauty here, and this park, which is near where I live, is lovely, and I love going here. Things are constantly changing here in Scarborough. 1 minute there's new construction going up, next there's another building abandoned. It's a place that's constantly changing, and I think that's what makes it fascinating and a really worthy subject for a project. One of the things I've been trying to do with the project is take pictures of some of the most boring things you can imagine and make them interesting. For example, this railway line. I find it a really interesting picture. It was quite challenging to take, but it sort of describes the district a bit in a way. There's these not very attractive things everywhere. There's empty shops that look like they're never going to be occupied again. There's factories that are blots on the landscape, but they're visually interesting. However, there's pockets of the district that are extremely pretty. I mean, the parks are great. This is a really interesting project to do. By trying to answer the questions I've set myself, I've really been able to get my teeth into the whole activity, and it's great fun, and I'm enjoying it immensely. And whilst it's an assessed piece of work for university, it's still a blast to do, and I'm answering questions that I've set myself about Scarborough, and I really do recommend doing this sort of project. So late last year, I was lucky enough to visit Iceland, and it's an amazing place, and I took lots of photographs of really beautiful things. I mean, it's a stunning, stunning country. I didn't have any particular purpose in mind when I was taking the pictures. They were really nice holiday photographs, basically. But when I got home and I looked through the images, I realized I had something more than just holiday snaps there. And this is the last type of project I want to talk about today. It's where you go backwards. You take the pictures first, and then you look at your pictures and draw a project from them. And I guess this one I'm recommending or talking about today is because we're all stuck at home in quarantine, and it's something you can do yourself, and you can do it right now. Have a look through your pictures, see what themes begin to emerge, and pull out a collection and put them together as a project. With Iceland, as I went through the images, I realized that I had something here that was telling a story of climate change. It was telling a story of how we interact with our landscape, and it was telling a story of how we treat the world around us. Now, those are my conclusions about what the project is about. Of course, for the viewer, it's for them to draw themselves. You don't have to see the same meaning as the photographer in a picture. I think this is one of the beauties of photography. It's about what meaning you take from it, nobody else. I think it's this last image of Mýrdalsjökull that summarizes the meaning of the project. It's about what we do to our planet. This glacier is melting before your eyes. The pool in front is increasing constantly. The glacier is receding. And the question is, what are we going to do? Are we just going to let it disappear? So I find immense value in going back through your archives and pulling things out to make a story. And I think that's something you can all do. So I'm setting you a challenge. If you like photography and you have a back catalogue of images, go back through them and put a project together with the images that you already have. We're all stuck at home during this COVID-19 quarantine. Go through, put them together, make a project, and then share them. I would love to see the results. I think it's something we can all do. So thank you for listening today. I hope that was useful. I hope it was interesting. Please feel free to contact me and I'm happy to answer questions. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.